Welcome to the Sports Show. I'm Andy Marks.
And I'm Byron Saucer.
Well, we're here at the regional final. We've got one team left. That's North Marion, which has a huge home game this weekend against Tampa Jefferson. First, let's tie up the Trinity Catholic season, which ended last week up in Jacksonville against Bulls. There's no shame in losing to Jacksonville Bulls. It's as fine a program as there is in Florida. Here's the question. To what extent now has the game changed for Trinity on a year-to-year basis when they're kind of used to marching towards that showdown with Pahokee? What do you think they need to do to reshuffle now and get back there?
I don't think they really need to do too much. I think this was a loaded Bulls team, even with a few injuries. I think Trinity's on the right course, and I think they definitely showed that they could play with this team. It looked like they played, reading Richard Burton's story and following it online, it looked like they played the perfect game pretty much until the fourth quarter when it kind of got away from them. And I think they're right where they want to be. I think John Brantley is going to stay. I think he's going to continue to build that program, and I think they'll be competitive in 2B. And that being said, the road won't be as easy.
Sure.
I mean, we knew that when they released these classifications. None of that's changed. Just ask Pahokee, who was bounced in the first round. So I don't know that they really need to do anything other than, they get the test a little earlier.
Right. And it's a good test, and I think it's a worthy task for Trinity to have to get through a hurdle like that to get there. It's nice those couple years there where they could win every one of their playoff games 41-0. Yeah. But you'd like to say that you've beat the best to be the best, and they will certainly have to do that from here going on. Sure. We should probably make a quick mention of an outstanding senior class that Trinity had this year. A couple of the most high-profile guys, Kadron Boone and Kedrick Rhodes, have already signed their Division I deals.
Right.
They'll be gone. Some other guys, we had a workhorse lineman in David Leopard, Frankie Velez, the kicker. These are guys that have won a lot of big football games at Trinity in an era in which the program really started from nowhere and became a program that everybody in the state knows about now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll miss those guys, but there's the cupboard's not bare over there, and we'll see more guys like that come up for Trinity, as well as the Colts, who you were talking about a little earlier. Now, you had a chance to be over at Stan Toole, you and Dwight Collins. What'd you see over there?
I saw a North Marion team that had adjusted well to what they learned from playing Vanguard the first time this year, and they pushed Vanguard around a little bit like they did Denellen. They ran some more, and they had a couple fumbles in the first half that cost them the opportunity to take a lead where they probably should have. I think I sent you a text message at halftime saying, wow, it's tied at halftime. Vanguard's weathered the storm. They might win this thing. Well, it was the opposite. That's what happened the first time they played. This time, North Marion came out and had kind of exploited their strengths to the degree that they started to break some big runs, and no sooner did Vanguard try to adjust to that than Chucky Looney, the senior quarterback, found their beastly sophomore tight end, Sean Price, for a couple of long touchdowns on really pretty passes and nice football plays. North Marion's good. It's a good, balanced team. They've been good for many years. I think there's more point your finger at them kind of kids on that team this year, where they just have some fantastic athletes, and I think they're going to need those athletes this week for Tampa Jefferson, because Tampa Jefferson has a few kids like that themselves.
Yeah, they certainly do. Quentin Williams, the quarterback over there, has thrown for 3,100 yards, 34 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions, which is really the stat that jumps out to me. I mean, anybody can just wing it around the field, but when you don't make mistakes, it makes it very tough to defend. And he's got a beast at wide receiver, Andre Davis, who's anywhere from 6'1" to 6'3", depending on who you ask. He's also a junior. He's got 1,100 receiving already, and 19 touchdowns, were just silly numbers. And this kid already holds offers from Miami and USF and FSU. So clearly, these two guys are the go-to guys. But they also have a running game that's a little underrated. And I had a chance to talk to the North Marion defensive coaches, and certainly they're concerned. I mean, they see the star power out there for this team, and this team certainly knows how to go about dictating tempo and keeping defenses on their heels. So I think it'll be another test.
Yeah, well, here's the question that I've got, because I think that we're both going to pick North Marion this week. And it kind of reminds me of this exact time last year when North Marion had to go down to Tampa instead of being at home. Not Tampa, but Pasco County, play Pasco High School. And we thought the same thing. We thought North Marion was maybe a little tougher, maybe could run the ball a little better. I think North Marion, in fact, should have and could have won that game, but they didn't. They got beat by a team that like Jefferson, was kind of new to this level of football. So I guess I'm curious what what the Colts are going to need to do to prevent that from happening if, in fact, they're a little bit tougher at the line, a little bit better at running back than Jefferson is. How do they turn that into a victory?
I think it starts with the defense, honestly. I really do. I think the guys up front, if they can get pressure with that front four, I think it disrupts everything. If they're able to drop their linebackers and their secondary into coverage, get 7 on the back end and get consistent pressure with 4, with Cortland Thomas and Latavian Sweet and Best and those guys up front, I think they can cause them a lot of problems. The North Marion coaches think they can cause them a lot of problems. And on the other side of the ball, I think just what you said. I think this defense isn't used to being on the field much, Jefferson.
Right.
And if they can just hammer them late third quarter, early fourth quarter, I think that's when they start popping them. C.J. Richardson, Jamie Gilmore in the lot.
Right, and Richardson is an interesting story because I remember in the Fall Classic this year, we saw C.J. Richardson, and there's this 240-pound kid who's outrunning little fast guys in the secondary. And then he kind of disappeared during the season, and we saw a healthy dose of Jamie Gilmore. We saw some nice carries by the big fullback Matt Pringle.
Yeah.
Those two guys are still there, but now Richardson is emerging. He had the huge game against Vanguard, 8 carries, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. So they now have 3 guys that they can run different types of plays for. Richardson sort of a change of pace, burst of speed up the middle.
Yeah.
Gilmore will run the scat back kind of plays on the outside, and Pringle will just carry guys with him down the field. So that's a lot of versatility. And then when you factor in that Chucky Looney, who's the quarterback that because of this Quentin Williams kid, nobody's going to be talking about Chucky Looney, a good senior quarterback who has earned his reputation and the stats that he's put together at North Marion. When they run it too much, Chucky Looney can start throwing it downfield, and he's got some serious targets in Price, in LaTroy Pittman, who's a Division I type of receiver, just a sophomore, and of course Dedrick Bagley, who's no slouch, as another guy that can hurt you there. So it's a very balanced offense. Like last year when I thought North Marion was going to beat Pasco handily, I think the same thing. I'm going to go with let's say a 3-touchdown win. Let's say 35-14 Colts.
Wow.
What do you think?
Emphatic.
Yes.
I don't know. I agree with you about the Pasco comparison, but I was much more certain they would beat Pasco. Pasco on paper didn't have these numbers that jump out at you like these guys. They weren't nearly as explosive. The thing with this team is you get on them early, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything. You get up 2 scores,
right.
These guys are quick strike capability. But I do like the Colts. A little closer game in this one. I think they have a good plan, a good scheme, and what I've really been impressed with of this team is very business-like. You know what I mean? They really do. Certainly they don't bring their A game every week, but nobody does, and they get by. They find ways to win, and I think they'll do that again. But I'm going to go a little closer. I'll go 28-20.
Yeah, I think a lot of pressure might fall in that Colts secondary this time because there's the big gun at receiver. Losing his name here. Davis is the big gun, but they have 2-3 other guys with numbers, and so T.J. McCullough, the senior cornerback for North Marion, I think that a lot of that burden is going to fall on his back. But the other guys back there, I know Pittman's been chipping in, some of the linebackers who fall into coverage. These guys are going to have their hands full. They need to stop that big play from happening, turn it into a ball control type of game because. You mentioned the committee approach at running back for Jefferson. Well, you want to make them prove that the fact that they don't have a 1,000-yard rusher is not in any way a correlation with them not being able to run the football when it matters. I think that's what North Marion needs to force themselves to find out.
Well, and that's the thing with Jefferson as well, too. They're very tricky with the run game. What they do is you got that front 4 coming, you got linebackers turn going out in coverage, and they slip a guy through there on you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's 8-10 yards sometimes for the first contact. So that can be tricky. I know they were working on that in practice. And the other thing, you touched on it with the receivers. I actually found a stat. 6 other receivers in addition to Davis who have at least 10 grabs and 129 yards. So the kid knows how to spread it around as well. I think it'll be a test, and I think if they get by this, and if they do it the way you're talking about they do it, either going to Pensacola or St. Augustine the next week, I think this team maybe is ready to get over that hump.
We hope. It's all year long. It's looked like a special North Marion team, and that's even taking into account that they've had a lot of very, very, very good football teams.
Oh, certainly.
So Friday night, you and I are both going to be at Stan Toole Memorial Stadium. I think like last week against Vanguard, it's going to be packed there. There's going to be thousands of fans. Anybody who can't get there, go to ocala.com. We're going to be sending updates to the website as frequently as we can. You can keep in touch with the game there, and we will be back next week to hopefully talk about a state semifinal.
That's right, Andy. Don't forget, we had one more thing, remember? Roll Tide.